Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Warm greetings from Team DentistChannel.Online. It's an absolute pleasure to have each and every one of you as our dear participants for this live webinar. My name is Ruben. It's my pleasure to moderate this webinar with a very special speaker, Professor Dr. Johnson Raja James. Like I have introduced myself, I request you to introduce yourselves with your full name and the city where you reside. Very quickly, let's do a quick introductory session wherein you introduce your name, your full name, and the city where you reside in the chat box. Thank you. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. I guess with that, we are good to start with today's power-packed webinar on a very interesting topic. And I'm sure each and every one of you would love this topic. Well, as you can see, we have a very special speaker coming from a very special place. And that is because of the coconut trees that you can see on his screen. Yes, I'm talking about a very own Professor Dr. Johnson Raja James. It's also my privilege to introduce our speaker for today. Dr. Johnson is an implant surgeon, a professor, and an international certified mentor with 15 years of experience in advanced implantology, piezosurgery, and peri-implant regeneration. He holds a postgraduate degree in periodontology from the Ragas Dental College and Hospital. He's a practitioner and a board-certified implant surgeon, an active fellow of the International Congress of Oral Implantologists, a key opinion leader at Norris Medical, and a director of a leading chain of dental hospitals in South India, and a professor, a consultant, and keynote speaker in the field of advanced dentistry. His practice is concentrated in periodontology and advanced implantology since 2006 and has spent 13 prominent years in clinical research and development on peri-implant regeneration with autologous growth factors with bone substitutes, particularly in full mouth rehabilitations. He's had the good fortune to work with distinguished surgeons in India and abroad and has learned a great deal about implantology that has helped him to accomplish pioneering results in zygomatic implant surgeries, one of the advanced implant treatments for patients with highly atrophic maxilla. His interest and continuous research and development in the field of zygomatic implantology has guided him to develop the guided protocols for zygomatic implants, a specialization that comprises less than 2% of implant surgeries worldwide. He's traveled to a number of hospitals across India to assist and perform at operations involving zygomatic and pterygoid implants with tilted implants concept. His relentless determination to use his skills and clinical knowledge has resulted in the establishment of Implant Tree, a fully operational advanced dental hospital in Chennai in the year 2017. Along with that, he's co-founded IFAD, that is the Implant Tree Foundation of Advanced Dentistry in Chennai, India, which is a comprehensive training facility powered by live surgery workshops. IFAD has successfully trained over 300 dental surgeons as of today. Today, Implant Tree has grown into a leading dental brand with the best implant and full mouth rehabilitation solutions in India. Thank you for joining us, Dr. Johnson. It's an absolute pleasure to have you for this webinar. Without much further ado, I now call upon Dr. Johnson Raja James live on a very important topic. And here we go with a power pack session. Over to you, Dr. Johnson.
Thank you, Ruben. It is not often that we have our entire CV read out and in detail, and you are very good in your job. And what we are going to do today is first the Namaste. This Namaste has now become integral part of all my webinars. This is something we are given to the world. Now there's no more handshakes now. and India has been in the lead in these lockdown periods and guiding the world in treatment protocols. Uh, what we are going to do today, go straight into our presentation, is a summary of what I have done in my lockdown webinars. We did have webinars on all on 4, we had webinars on the pterygoid and the zygomatic. So now what I have done is I have summarized all that I have researched and prepared in these 2 months we had into one presentation where I'll be dealing with a concept called all on 10. It's not all on 6, just like their iPhone X, it's on iPhone X, it's iPhone 10. It's all on 10, and how we can rehabilitate the atrophic maxilla and mandible, a full mouth rehab with 10 implants. This is something that we have worked on, and we'll also be seeing the various implant configurations which we are going to use in this picture. As always, I start with pranams to my dad, and he's the one inspiration I have to go towards being unique. That is how I kept continuously training myself and educating myself into step-by-step into advanced implants, and that is why I am now working on zygomatic implants, because something that is very few doctors around the world are working on, and hopefully in the near future we'll having collaborations in India, multi-center trials, and too early talk about those things. And I'm sure when it comes through, I will be informing Dentist Channel Online on the proceedings. I also thank my mentor, Dr. KV Arun, who is my head, my mentor, is my everything, who drives me, keep driving me. He is my chodi in my alumni Raga Central College. And this was when I went back to my PG institution to teach the postgraduates, and we did live surgery on zygomatic implants. Meaning, I appreciate all of you being here because you're all here to learn something, and learning is a continuous process. Okay, we have had enough of that. So what we're going to see today is something I have framed. It's called TikTok implantology. TikTok is very famous. So what we mean by TikTok, and how the nasal, pterygoid, and zygomatic implant protocols can help us in rehabilitating full mouth patients, and some clinical cases. So I might not be able to teach you the actual procedures of it. I will be showing you videos, certain literature backings, and case pictures, majority case pictures. All right. So we all know there has been a radical change in implants. Now, all the patients who come to us, they want less and less time elapsing between implant placement and prosthetic restoration. No one is willing to wait, and the protocols developed are towards lesser number of implants and less time between implant placement and prosthetic restoration. This is where my concept of TikTok implantology helps us, and it's just a combination refinement of things which I've been learning over the years, but we might have forgotten some key important points which I have put forward in this. So all on 10 with the TikTok concept. Now, if you see here, I put line on this segment contributes to the surgical part, and this segment constitutes prosthetic part. The prosthetic part is equally important as the surgical part. So what we're going to do is we're going to use tall implants. All right, and these implants are going to be in cortical bone, not on cortical bone. That's why I don't say all on 4, all on 6. I tell my patients all in 4, all in 6, and this also should be all in 10. Okay, so these are in tall implants in cortical bone, meaning all these implants you see have penetrating the cortical bone. All right, and we're going to replace dentition using tilted occlusal concept, the prosthetic part. This is equally important as a surgical part. So we'll see a little bit of this. So these concepts work even in single implants, which I'm not going to detail. You can see in this case over here, if I had placed a straight implant, I would have placed maybe an 8 millimeter, whereas because of my tilted implant concept engaging cortical, I have placed a 16 millimeter implant and immediately loaded a premolar. So this is what we mean by TikTok. We'll see more in our full mouth cases. So we use this in atrophic jaws, we use tall implants, and we develop surgical protocols to achieve high primary stability, at least 35 newtons. And we also use occlusal scales, which I'll show you 2 pictures. And when we combine all this together, they work like clockwork. So we have good biomechanical stability, prosthetic advantages. All these implants using this protocol can be immediately loaded, and we can get very good aesthetic outcomes because of functional aesthetics. Means like, see, most often we have cases where we rehabilitate the teeth, we give them teeth and tell them not to chew. or tell them don't chew on the right, chew only on the left, which is not impossible. You cannot give teeth to a patient and tell them don't chew. It doesn't work. So we'll be able to give with these kind of protocols, these kind of surgical placements, teeth, and the patient can happily chew and smile on them. Okay. Now, what you see over here, this is a picture I'm very proud of. My good friend Alex, and this is that immediate post-operative picture. This is not he's the patient. You can't say who is the patient from here. This is me. This is his son, and this is him. A full mouth implant trachea patient 2 hours down the line from total extraction, implant placement, immediate denture conversion, and 2 hours on the line with no edema, no swelling, no pain. So these are the kind of things we are working on: guided protocols, less invasive protocols, and all in cortical protocols, which will this helps us or to give solutions to the patient. At the same time, patient acceptance is good. They develop a good rapport with this. That's what we should be moving towards. So coming to the protocol, when we use tall implants, we'll be able to reach the apical cortical ones. We'll be able to reach the apical cortical bone, and this helps us to give a good, very high primary stability, and they can be immediately loaded. The first part. So if I take a audience census now, okay, like what is the longest implant you would use? I might hear 13 or 16 max, but if you see my cases down the line, most of the implants I would have placed are 18, 20, 22, two-piece implants. I'm not talking about single-piece basal implants. I'm talking about two-piece screw retain process for all these cases. Okay, so this we have to see the surgical concepts, we have to see the prosthetic concepts, and they have enough literature backing behind them. And psychologically also, the patient should be prepared and willing for immediate loading. This is one advice I would give to all of you. If the patient is not willing for immediate loading, he doesn't want teeth immediately, he tells you, doctor, I'll wait for 1 month, no problem, you also wait. Do not try to push immediate loading onto the patient, because that patient 1 in 100 is what is going to fail. So this is because even all on 4s, all on 6, all on 10, you can do delayed loading also. Though they work very well with immediate loading protocol. Especially zygomatic implants, they are more successful when you go for immediate loading compared to delayed loading. So when you say go cortical, okay, in cortical implantology and cortical engagement, we have to keep two things in mind. One is that we have to engage the cortical bone, and we have to use implants designed to engage cortical bone, meaning you have to have narrow apex, they have to be aggressively threaded. Okay, this is a cortical implant system with Norris. So they have to aggressively threaded, and then only these implants. Otherwise, you can't use a passive implant for these kind of cases. You might have to go for delayed loading and wait for osseointegration 3 months, 6 months, and all this stuff. Okay, so this is what I mean. So this is, you see, is an onyx implant which is passively threaded. These implants I don't use for immediate loading, whereas I would go for the tough pro, and this is a zygomatic implant or pterygoid implant. All these implants are good for immediate loading. Okay, when we now we have seen what we mean by tall implants, we see about cortical implantology, and I want to share with you two very the chat box, I'm sure Ruben will take forward. Okay, good. So I want to share with you two very important pictures which are which revealed a lot to me. All right, and you should also understand based on that. See, occlusion biomechanics defines the success of implantology. It's not about how skilled your hands are. Of course, it matters a lot, but the occlusion and right placement and biomechanics. Now, what happens in the maxilla? Maxilla is more of a force distribution unit. When you chew, the forces go along 3 vertical buttresses and 2 horizontal buttresses. And okay, and mandible is more of force absorption towards the basal bone. You can see over here, this is the nasal buttress, the canine buttress, the zygomatic buttress, and the pterygomaxillary buttress. This is how the implant designs are done now, because here is where we place the nasal implants. Okay, here is placed the zygomatic implant, and this is pterygoid implant, meaning these implants are designed to engage the cortical bone along the trajectories of force, and they dissipate forces in that direction, so that there is less force at the crest. This is what science tells. That is how we should be placing implants also. No point placing, if you have a trajectory like this, no point placing an implant so short like this and short like this, don't work. You have to place all the way so that they engage the trajectories, and then the forces are dissipated accordingly. That is what I mean by all in cortical. Whereas mandible, we are more relieved, because you don't have to go all the way. All this is basal bone, and the forces are distribute in that direction. You can see over here a very, very important slide where I have three radiographs over here. On the first slide, you will see this is the nasal implant or the nasalis implant. All implants which engage the nasal floor is called a nasalis implant. Okay, you can see here it is just butting out of the nasal cortex. You can see over here, maybe one thread. That's all. Here, this is a pterygoid implant, and you can see here an apical perforating pterygoid implant, the pterygoid plate. Okay, somewhere in between the middle pterygoid, lateral pterygoid, we have the pterygoid plate. And here you have the zygomatic implant. Here also, classical Zygomatic protocol states that we have to perforate the outer cortex and have to have a small perforation over here. NPZ, all implants, tall implants in cortical bone, following the trajectories of force. I'm sure this makes something new and something relevant, which all of you have to keep in mind. Okay, and we can immediately load them when we can get a torque of greater than 35. And how do you achieve this? Either you go for under preparation osteotomies. Suppose you're placing a 4.2, you just do 2.8 and go forward. You can use denser bursts. And of course, cortical engagement helps a lot in getting good primary stability in these cases. So all of this becomes important. Okay, your drilling protocols, bone is a little more soft, go for patient, and never without cortical engagement. So already we have seen the nasal floor where all we have cortical engagement. We have the basal bone, we have the mylohyoid ridge, the crestal floor, the nasal spine, very relevant because sometimes you might tilt implant to engage the nasal spine, the pterygoid plate, the zygomatic bone. Okay. Something important over here. Okay, so this is the alveolar bone and this is the palatine bone. Okay, now when you place implants, we have to try to engage the maximum number of cortical plates and maximum number of cortical surfaces. So I'll show you maybe in further slides. I think I have a slide. Rather than placing an implant straight like this, I might tilt it a little bit more to engage the palatal floor. This is what we mean by tilting implants. We tilt and we use longer implants so that we can get more cortical contact. Okay. Okay. I will not have time for the occlusal and prosthetic concepts, but I'll just like to tell you certain keywords. This works only in splinted implant. That means 2 or 3 implants which are splinted together so that there is no rotation of implants. We call that moment load. Once you give force, the distal implant might rotate, whereas each implant supports each other to give a rigid processes. And we have a mutually product occlusion with shallow incisal. This is how we plan your occlusion. Okay, that means mutually product means the anterior teeth, when you glide, okay, the posterior teeth disocclude. When we earn occlusion, the anterior teeth disocclude. So, and we have very shallow incisal guidance, mean the two do not interlock too much. Okay, so less forces at that level. But these are just, keep these terms in mind. Maybe you can research later on, or maybe we have a separate process lecture. We can talk about these things. And the concept of progressive loading. Okay, so when you could think of full mouth rehabs, now I would do immediate denture conversion, chairside. I would have denture prepared, and would not tell the patient to go out without teeth. And maybe the next day or the third day, I'll take impressions, do transfers, and send the patient away with a screw retained process with the metal bar acrylic. There are doctors who made loading with zirconia, with ceramics, and it works. It's not that it will not work once you have good cortical engagement, good placement, but then you have to have a guard. I wouldn't do it on a patient who is traveling abroad or who would be a big nag for you. And we can do the definitive processes when the soft tissue heals. That is, after 1 month itself, we can go for definitive processes, but usually we wait for 2 to 3 months. There are studies which have good success in the 2nd month, good success in the 3rd month. Might take call as we do it after the 3rd month. Okay, this is what I told you about split implants, and this is how it works. Now, all these are tilted implants. Now, we do a nasal implant tilted, and I'm sure those who attend this lecture would have heard about multi-unit abutments, which compensate for the tilt and then convert the implant level processes to a tissue level processes. Now we have all the screws working only at the tissue level, not at the implant level. We're not disturbing the implants at all. This component will become part of the implant and will not go to this component at this platform at all. All our working will be only at the tissue level. Okay, so Norris is very special in this regard. Not that I use Norris a lot, because we have multi units of 45 which companies have, but we have 52, 60 specifically designed for zygomatic implants. So any kind of tilt we use, we can manage with our multi units, so that we have a passive fit rigid appliance prosthetics at later point of time. So this is what I'm talking about, mutually productive skill with shallow entry. All these are components of the full mouth rehab, which the TikTok protocol. So we have tall implants, they are engaged in the cortical bone. Okay, tall implants in cortical with tilted occlusal concepts and shallow anterior guidance. This is the entire protocol for TikTok. When you follow these, you're sure bound to have good success in your placement. So we'll have immediate loaded, less complex techniques, no, not much of bone grafting. If at all I do grafting just for space filling, or when I have extracted socket bone filling, that graft, I don't have to wait for the graft to integrate for loading my implants, because I already have good primary stability by engaging cortical bone. So this TikTok will also mean I'm saving time, I'm selling time. Okay, so we'll have less time that elapsed. This is a very important statement. I want all of you to get this into your head. Okay, so the final destination in implants research world over, now all the companies are coming out with newer implant techniques. See, when we already have implant systems which have success rate of 10 years and 15 years. Why are we doing continuous research on them? Because this is where we're heading towards. Okay, so less and less of time that elapses between implant placement and process loading, and also lesser number of implants. And why would lesser number of implants? I, as a periodontist, I agree on that, because it makes oral hygiene maintenance so much easier rather than having 12 implants and 15 implants into your oral cavity without any space in between to maintain good oral hygiene. Okay, so we can use these for single implants, full mouth rehab, segmental rehabilitation. I will show you one case of NPZ, all on X, or full mouth rehab. I'll also show you one case of segmental rehab with pterygoids, because that will be of great importance and use to you in your regular practice. Okay, so now the all on 10. All on 10 is basically 6 implants for the maxilla and 4 implants for the mandible. This is only for the highly atrophic cases. If you have good bone in the maxilla and mandible, go for 8 and 6, upper 8, lower 6, nothing harm, no harm. But I'm talking about this protocols only for the atrophic maxilla and mandible. So lower will have the mental nerve as the limiting factor. So we will tilt where the mental foramen is. Okay, upper, the limiting factor will be the sinus. So upper, the limiting factor is sinus, and lower will be the mental nerve. Okay, so most often we will elevate the flap completely, visualize the mental nerve, and do the distal tilt, and 2 implants in the anterior. Okay, whereas in the upper is something I like to concentrate more on, is the all-in-6 concept. Okay, how do you choose whether to go for your all-in-6, your all-in-4, or no tilt? So we have certain criteria for that. Now, if you have good bone like this good bone like this, 6 implants is the best concentration you have. And my another advice I would give is, try to avoid not even less cantilevers. Try to have your implant, the last part of your processes, the end should be supported by an implant. Try to avoid cantilevers to the max. That is why we need pterygoids. We'll see in the next slide. Okay, so the limiting factor, the deciding factor will be your mesial wall of the sinus. Mesial of the sinus will be limiting factor. We'll decide on what configuration. Of course, the width also matters, but then which is usually manageable. But the limiting factor will be the sinus. Okay, so okay, these are the all-on 4 variations. Okay, so here we can have a single zygoma with 2 implants over here. We can have a quad zygoma. We can have inverted V concepts. A lot of concepts which have placed 4 implants in the pre-maxilla. Now I like to say something else. Now, all on 6 is not about only. Usually, it's not about placing 6 implants in the pre-maxillary region alone. Okay, all-in 6 would only apply when you place 2 implants in the pterygoids. That 4 implants in the pre-maxilla. Okay, 4 implants in the pre-maxilla and 2 implants in the pterygoid is what we call an all-in 6 configuration. What 4 implants in the pre-maxilla could be your conventional implants, or could be a zygomatic implants, single zygoma conventional, or that we'll see. So that is what we mean an all-in 6 configuration. Okay, so here we have a typical placement of by Jensen. Beautiful diagrams. I think most presenters would have used this diagram, where this is an inverted V. Okay, you can see here this implant, a nasal implant, which is tilted to engage the crestal cortical, the nasal cortical, and also the palatal bone. So we have 3 points of cortical engagement over here. Now, if I hadn't tilted it so much, I would be engaging only nasal. This is also okay. I have bicortical. We have a crestal cortical and the nasal cortical placement. So this is the nasal implant, the nasal segment of the all-in-6 configuration. All the implants you place in the premaxilla region from the sinus to sinus is called the nasal implant. Now I would tilt it following the wall of the sinus. All right. I would also sometimes tilt it to engage the nasal spine. All right, we can do that. All right, you can do configuration like this. This is the all-on-4, the inverted V configuration. These are the nasalis segment of our NPC configuration. Okay. You can see over here, okay, you can see the long implant over here, and 4 points of cortical contact. The crestal contact, the implant closely engages the wall of the sinus, the nasal floor, and the palatal bone. So we have 4 points of cortical contact over here. That implant will be very stable. And this implant is something which is going to take up a lot of load, okay, especially if you're not placing pterygoids, all right? So this placement is really, really important, all right? Good. This is the angulation which we will follow for the distal nasal implant. Okay. So as I told you, without cantilever, if you can have an implant configuration which helps end your 6, okay, without cantilever, this also will work. You don't need to go for a all-in-6 configuration. You can very well give a very functional, aesthetic, and long-standing restoration to a patient with an all-on-4 configuration. Okay, but this is not possible all the time. Okay, and sometimes you might have heavy occlusal forces. It's possible. So in those cases where we go for the all-in-6 configuration. You can see over here. See, you can see the distal the implant ends in 6. This will work. Nothing wrong with this. Not necessarily that all the cases you'll go for all-in-6. Okay. Now this is a when do we need to go for the all-on-6 configuration or the NPZ configuration? You can see over here, now we have a 2-tooth cantilever. Even when do an all-on-4, we have a 2-tooth cantilever. Do not do that. This is when we place 2 pterygoids to convert it into an all-on-6. Even a single tooth cantilever nowadays, I go for all-on-6. I do not, with no cantilever, I don't mind. But even a single tooth cantilever, I prefer to place 2 pterygoids and convert it into an all-on-6. Okay, now we got what I would understand by that. So you see over here, even if it's a single zygoma or a, sorry, even I have one more zygoma, if suppose I don't have any implant, this is a all-in-6 with a nasal implant, a zygomatic implant, a pterygoid implant. This is a typical configuration. Suppose I have no width over here to place a conventional implant, I would go for another zygoma over here. Again, would be all-on-6. So 4 zygomos in the premaxilla and 2 pterygoids. So this is the configuration we are looking at. This is the configuration we are looking at. Okay, so now we understood what we mean by all-on-6 is not just 6 implants in the premaxilla. So it's the all-on-4 plus 2 implants. The all-on-4 can be 4 conventional implants, 2 zygoma to conventional, or a quad zygoma. And that will help us rehabilitate the maxilla with 14 teeth, that is 7 to 7. Okay, we're not looking at molar 7 to 7. We will not have any restoration over the pterygoid because the pterygoid is just to give us support. It will not, we cannot direct forces particularly along the pterygoid implant. So I'll see some discussion about the pterygoids. This is because I have dwelled a lot on how we place pterygoids and what are the different protocols of the pterygoids, and also different places the pterygoid implant can engage. Okay, so we all know the pterygoid plate, the medial pterygoid, the lateral pterygoid. Okay, sorry, the medial pterygoid and lateral pterygoid, and this is the area where we usually have a penetration of the pterygoid implant. All right. So those who feel I wouldn't need pterygoids, I'm happy with all-on-4s, is where such cases come when you have segmental rehabilitation pterygoids. You'll have a lot of uses with that. All right, so a lot of resorption at the posterior. Yeah, what's happening? Okay. So you do a thorough CBCT evaluation, radiography evaluation, absolutely necessary for determining pterygoid implant placement. All right, and we have to do it in 2 axes. The buccopalatal axis. This is the anterior posterior axis. Okay, anterior posterior axis. How much we tilt the implant. This is and the buccopalatal axis. How deep we go to engage the pterygoid plates. Okay, so this is 2 axes which we have to decide on to placing the implant. All right, buccopalatal and mesiodistal, and we can orient this based on the FH plane. That is what research says. Okay, so we have an angulation of 70 degrees and more tilt towards the pterygoid, upper towards the pterygoid plates, and more tilt towards the palatine plates. Okay, 45 to 70 degrees is what the angulation is available. Now, this is a case of mine, and you can see the CBCG will help you very clearly what happens over here. Why is my slides running? Okay, now this is two kinds of pterygoid implants over here. All right, they're not the same. Both are pterygoid implants, but two types based on how much of bone they engage. All right, here you have the tuberosity. All right, here you have the pyramidal process of the palatine bone, and here you have the pterygoid plates, pterygoid process of sphenoid bone. And you can, all these are cortical areas, and this area is what you call the pterygoid pillar. Now, when you place the implant, it depends on how much of these bones you engage. That's how we classify pterygoid implants. You can see over here, this implant has come all the way to the pterygoid plate. All right, whereas this implant is entirely sort of within the tuberosity. Okay, so we'll see how this is done, how this is classified. So you can see over here, based on how this implant segment enters into bone, we have first the tuberosity implant, pterygomaxillary, tuberopalatine, tuberopterygoid, and tuberopterygoid. This some diagrams I have drawn to explain this better. The first one is the tuberosity implant. Now you can see over here, this implant is entirely within the tuberosity region only. Okay, okay, this is the tuberosity implant. All right, and here very little, not much of cortical engagement is there. Whereas next is the pterygomaxillary implant, which engages the maxillary part and goes longer. Not much of tilt. You can see the tilt is almost 70 degrees. Okay, whereas here it will be 45 degrees. Okay, 70 degrees to engage the pterygoid plates. Okay, it engage the cortical bone over here. This is the pterygomaxillary implant. The next will be my tuberopalatine. Now this is more inclined about 45 degrees, where it engages only the palatine bone. Then, so why is my slides running? Okay, this will be my tuberopterygoid implant if it does not perfect the outer cortex, and finally will be my tuberopterygoid implant, which perforates the outer cortex. I'm sure you'll have doubts on this. Maybe we'll discuss this at the end, because this might be something new to all of you. So we'll discuss this towards the end. So 5 types of pterygoid implants in our NPC configuration. Okay, right. So how do we decide on how to go out? All this depends upon the resorption pattern of the maxilla. Okay, and the position of the pterygoid plates, because not all curves are the same, because the maxilla follows different resorption patterns. You can see over here, these are different classifications of maxillary resorption, and at the end of this will be your pterygoid plate. So you'll have to see the curve of the maxilla, how much it curves. Okay, so in early cases, you can raise a flap, and you can raise your flap and see what is the kind of maxillary curve is there. At the end of that will be your pterygoid plates. That will how it will engage. Okay. Here are some pictures that match. One second. My phone, Google has switched on by itself. Right. So you can see here, as I told you, so you can have a buccopalatal orientation of 20 to 45 degrees, and a anteropostal rotation of either 45 if you want to go for a true pterygoid engaging pterygoid plates, or you can go for pterygomaxillary at 70 degrees engaging your pterygoid plate only at the crest, at the apex. Good. So this is how it looks like, your angulation for your pterygoid implant. So pterygoid implant is, according to me, more difficult than the zygoma, because it's more of a blind procedure, and you hardly get to see beyond the crest where the implant is going. So it requires a lot of skill and anatomical orientation of the patient, his position, to get things right. So these are the armamentarium you will need. You will need the pterygoid drills. Okay, and you have long drills of 2 mm, 2.8 mm. You can use osteotomes. I myself am comfortable only with drills, but in the early stages, maybe because the bone is very soft over there, and you will not able to finish the case only with osteotome, because you'll have to perforate the apical cortical so that your thread engage a little bit of the cortical bone. So combination of osteotomes and drills will help out. I'll give you a flow chart, and this is my surgical screwdriver. You cannot do zygomatic implants or pterygoid implants without a surgical screwdriver. Hand will not go all the way, your ratchet will not go there. You will need this over here, and this is a very useful. It's a ratchet pro, a torque ratchet, like a micromotor. Very useful for engaging the deeper part, and your components won't slip and fall off. Okay, you can also use guide pins to decide a multi-units. Now, when you place the implant, you might use these to decide what kind of multi-units you need to get the angulation compensation done. This is one of the most favorite implant designs of mine. It's called the Terrific implant. I call it the Iron Man of implants. Okay, and why? Because it's forgiving, it's strong, and we have a polish called a 5mm at the crest and more tapered apex over here, especially designed for cortical engagement. Nasal implant or loads of especially designed for pterygoids. I use a lot of it for my distal nasal implant. Okay, even anterior nasal, because the diameter is only 4.2, so you can't use it for narrower bone, but very good for cortical engagement. Yeah, pterygoid I don't use much. So this is the sequence of placing pterygoid implants. Okay, so I think I'll skip this. I'll show you the actual diagrams and cases, so you don't have to go through all this. So step one, I raise a flap. I measure 1 centimeter from the distal tuberosity. I take a round burr. I told you the angulation of 7 degrees or 45, depending on what kind of implant you want to place. All right, and a buccopalatal orientation of maybe 30 degrees will help. Okay, and you will see this is how it is. The video is running. Yeah, you can see that's a lancet drill. Mucidistal buccopalatal orientation and going all the way. If you see, it will stop. Once you do that, it will stop. And when you give an apical pressure, you feel the cortical. And then if you push, it will drill. You can feel the cut. Even in nasal implant placement, since all these are twist drills, you don't have to even give any kind of force. If you do a round bed drill and then keep the twist drill, keep it over there, it'll keep on drilling up to the alveolar bone, the soft bone. And then when it reaches the cortical plate, it will stop there. Yeah. And then you can feel it drop into perforation. Okay, good. You can see, then take X-ray, see that it has crossed the distal wall of the sinus. It's not going into the sinus anywhere. Yeah. And then you can use a 2mm drill or 2.mm drill to validate that. You can see here. You can see I'm keeping a small hand, my thumb at the crest, so to give it orientation and to give a slight apical push when it reaches the cortical bone. No hurry in doing it, because there are very chance that you change your angulation and you miss out with the right angulation. Okay, good. Then a 2.8mm drill, because I'm going to do a 4.2mm implant. Okay, and then we go for the implant placement. Yeah, so I use a surgical screwdriver for placing the implant. You cannot put your hand inside the cheek and try placing. You'll absolutely need a surgical screwdriver to place the implant. Okay, so little difficulty with the video if I'm there. So the implant is placed. You'll get very good primary stability of at least 60, and see, you can place it almost a crest. Good enough. Sorry. So I'll just show you one case where we have done. I'll just rush through the photos. My time is all 5:40. I think I'll have 5 minutes of this, and then the 15 minutes of the last case. Very often you'll get patients like this where you have the anterior teeth are good enough, but the posterior is due to periodontal disease. They have been mobile for long and they eaten away all the bone, almost close to the sinus, nothing much left. See over here, this is the sinus over here. Nothing much left for placement, and patient doesn't want extraction of the anterior teeth. So in these cases, your pterygoids and nasalis implants will be of great help for rehabilitation, as you will see. What we observe in this case is you can see good bone over here, whereas there's no bone over there. So what the design we have done is tilted implants in the first segment and almost not so tilted implants in the second segment. This we have restored in multi-units. This is without multi-units. So a very interesting case. We did, a patient is doing well for the past 1 year. So I wanted to see. So upper quadrant, upper left, and this is my pterygoid drilling. It's useful to see bone in the drill so that you know you're drilling into bone, not into tissue. Okay, so our terrific implant. The size you can see is 4.2 into 18. As I told you, tall implants in cortical bone. Very useful to keep your endo explorer inside. I use, this is the instrument I call the black. I don't do implants without this instrument. It helps me to feel and tactile, get a feel of what I've drilled into, feel the apical stop. Even when you're doing a drilling over the nerve, it helps you so that you know you're not gone into the nerve canal. Okay, so when you put the instrument into the drill, and as you take it out, you push the implant inside. Same thing you do zygomatic implants also. So you don't change your orientation of drill and implant placement. Okay, that's the implant placement. Very good primary stability. Pterygoids, anteriorly flap raised. Okay, so you can see the tilt. I'm not placing it straight. It's a tilted implants, the nasal implant. Okay, the implant is placed over here. Okay, and the straighter implant. Again, you can see the length of 3.75 into 18. It goes all the way to the nasal cortex, and the angulation correction done with 3 multi-units. This will probably 30, 17, 17, if I'm right. Okay, we give my healing caps. Now here I have allowed it to heal only for soft tissue healing. I can do image loading in this case, but I waited 21 days for soft tissue to adapt and heal. So directly I went for my permanent ceramic restoration. So here you can see I'm not doing tilting. I'm going straight. This is a pterygoid maxillary implant. All right. So what I did here to get additional cortical condensation, I've used densa burst. All right. So to get a primary stability, implants placed. Then the anterior implants, talk done. So we place 3 implants on either side. Okay, this is with multi-units. This is without multi-units. Straight implants. All right. So here we have tissue level process. Here you're going to have a implant level processes. Then go for your open tray transfers, both sides, multi-unit level and implant level. Always check X-rays when you do transfers to see the seating, because you don't want any problems when you're going for your prosthetic delivery. Okay, splinted implant transfers. Okay, I'll just keep the chat box open, so if I have any questions coming in, maybe I can answer in between. Okay, good. All right, so we have the ceramic processes. This is ready. Good. Yeah. So you can see here, I don't usually keep any teeth over the pterygoid. Pterygoid is just like pushing against a wall. It will not direct forces along the long axis. So not keep any tooth material over the pterygoid implant. So that's what we have done. We have delivered on both sides, good stability and torquing done. Minimal intercuspation. Yeah, both sides. So this is how it looks like. Okay, these both are pterygoid implants. You can see this is on the second quadrant, this is on the first quadrant. You can see the tilt on the first quadrant and less tilt on the second quadrant. Okay, I'll show you. So you can see the configuration. This configuration will be a lot of use for you to use in your segmental rehabilitation using nasal implants and pterygoid implants. You can see over here, you can see the apical perforation along pterygoid plates. Yeah, but here's a tuberosity implant. Same case, 6 implants. I don't think I have time for the video. We'll skip that. We can see this video. It's a good representation of the case we have done. Post implant placement. Yeah. See, perfect placement. You can see these are 2 medial lateral plates and right in between. That is where you want the implants to be engaging itself. Good. So that we have seen nasal implants placement, zygomatic implants, pterygoid implants. Now we'll see a little bit about zygomatic implants. Now the problem with zygomatic implants is people have kept it aside as the last resort, and you have super consultants to come to do zygomatic implants. Whereas now with the current advent of the extra maxillary technique, all the implants, zygomatic implants I have done for the past 6 or 7 years now is only under local anesthesia, chairside, patients aging 50 to 75. I have done zygomatic implants, and so once you get the fear out of it, get the concept that it's something very big and something undoable, I think we'll have more and more doctors taking up zygomatic implants. This is one of the X-ray, one of the first cases. Okay, you can see bone is lost, and it's all the way till here. There's a nasal floor, and this case I did after getting my first training from Norris, and the next week itself, he was a neighbor of mine. So we very often get cases like this, which we lead. I don't think we can do grafting and waiting and all the stuff for cases. Very easily manage with zygomatic implants. Okay, and we should appreciate Dr. Brenamark, who's a very brainy guy, because I don't know how he got the idea that zygomatic implant stood for zygomatic bone is suitable for placing implants. Good osseous density, good cortical outlay. Of course, we have some amount of trabecular bone inside, and the length and width ideally suited for placing implants. We have a length of approximately 14 millimeters, with the cross section. Can you see the cross section over here will be approximately 8 millimeters, length of the 26 millimeters. Okay, so which will help us to place an implant of maybe 35 to 60 millimeters length available, and the apical length will be 30 millimeters rough surface for placing. I will not cover the Zaga approach. Okay, only thing I want to tell you is the position of the implant will be the same. The trajectory will be the same. I think in coming slides, you can see as and when the sinus resorbs, more and more implant will be exposing in the, that's what we call an extra maxillary technique. You can see the implant will become more and more extra maxillary. Yeah, that's the Zaga classification. Okay, so I use the zygomatic implant when the sinus has pneumatized all the way to the canine. Simple classification. When the sinus has pneumatized all the way to the canine, I will not go for a distal nasal implant over here. I will go for a zygomatic implant, and so that it emerges at the region of 4-5, meaning the distal implant in all on 6 configuration. We have pterygoids here, that's the 2 implants. The distal implant should emerge in 4 or 5, not in 3. I hope that is very clear. So if I can get my distal implant at 4 or 5 region, I would go for a conventional implant. If I cannot get it at 4 or 5 region, I'll go for a zygomatic implant. And if the width of bone over here is also totally resorbed, so I cannot place an implant over here, I'll go for another implant over here. That will be my quad zygoma configuration with the pterygoid. Yeah, good. So you can see this is the quad zygoma pterygoid. This is the configuration which I'm using a lot nowadays, right? So the point A will be at the crest, where is usually 4-5 region. Point B is where we enter into the zygomatic bone. Automatically we have point C, which will be the outer cortex perforation. So we have 4-point contact here also: the crest, the wall of the sinus, the entry into zygomatic bone, and the exit of the outer zygomatic bone. Okay. So this is how we do the extraoral guidance for placing zygomatic implants. Okay, we draw a line just below the intraorbital foramen, then we mark the orbit, and about 1 centimeter away, we draw one vertical line, and then we mark from the corner of the mouth. This will be my orientation, or my the angulation trajectory of my zygomatic implant. Okay. So we are not learning how to do a zygomatic implant here. We're just seeing basically steps to be followed. Okay, I love this diagram because I realized zygomatic implants are all about trajectories, right? Following the right trajectory, getting into the zygoma and coming out. And so now my guides are helping me a lot. All my cases I do now are guided, either partially guided or positional guided. I don't use a fully guided kit for any of my cases, most because I like to have my last word myself. I don't want the guys to tell me everything. The last final touch should be my mind. Okay, so this is a 5.5 rule which I created for zygomatic implants, meaning you start at the premolar region, and the entire length of zygoma you divide by half, and that is where you enter. I'll show you. So point A will be at approximately the premolar region of 4 and 5 or 5. Point B, suppose if this is 10 millimeters, you divide 5 millimeters, you mark, that is where you enter. Okay, point B. Okay, and this area you decide following this is a vertical ascent, this is the horizontal ascent. At this area we start. Okay, if these landmarks are created, you have automatically it will come out at C. So actually placing zygomatic implants are not very difficult. Okay, so I'll skip this for you. Okay, just a word of caution: the angulation, this will be usually 45 degrees. If you go more vertical, it will go into the eye. If you go more lateral, it will go into infratemporal fossa. So this is the current generation 3 if I'm right, zygomatic implant. Okay, smooth surface all the way, and 13 millimeters, which will enter into zygomatic bone. Advantage, even if it resorbs or it exposes, there's no going to be any pathogens adhering over there. Going to have good oral hygiene maintenance. And all of this come in diameter of 4.2, very rigid, very solid implants we place over there. The first thing you'll be doing is creating a guide path into the zygomatic bone. Yeah, all right. Using these grooves, then you'll have drills of varying lengths to drill into the zygomatic bone and perforate and come out of the outer cortex. So here also we have the TikTok protocol, all in cortical, tall in cortical. So tall implant, which is in cortical bone, right? So then you have a depth gauge to measure what is the length of implant you have used, you need to use, so that it engages all the way to the outer cortex and at the crest. And again, the multi-units. When you're going for quads, you'll be using, because this is more angulated, you might use 52 to 60 over here. And here, maybe 45 is usually what you use over there. So the MIG protocols, or the minimally invasive guided protocols in zygomatic implantology. Okay, four things is a very important part of this. First, we do a total digital pre-operative planning. I know precisely what is the length of implant I'm going to use, what is the trajectory I'm going to follow, what is the condition of zygomatic bone over there that already has perforations, or what is the the quantum of bone available over there. I know everything prior. Okay, then I prepare a guide. I can do a positional guide or a partial guide, so that I raise the flap only to place the guide. I do not see the landmark. I don't have to see the landmark because I already have seen it is in my head, and I can have a STL model printed to see what is there. So I have a minimally invasive flap. All right, and these implants are done under general anesthesia. All right, so sorry, under local anesthesia. So there is very less cost incurring onto the patient. Patient is also comfortable. I call this the frying pan flap design. Okay, so anterior incision, then little remote going towards the palate, and then at the crest, so to expose the zygomatic area. This is where I start drilling. Okay, you can see over here, not much of flap raising. I have raised, I have placed the flap, I have kept the bone screws, and then I can immediately start drilling. I don't have to keep on reflecting to see how much of reaching zygoma or not. It's not mandatory. All right. So these are two kind of guides I use. This is a positional guide where I just to mark the point A and point B, then I start remove and do the drilling. These are partial guides again, which I can do some drillings also. And maybe the last step I would do, remove all the guides and do the final drilling. Okay, so why do we need minimally invasive protocols? You can see over here, if you can observe that I was able to keep the sinus intact. I'll play this again for you. I was able to keep the sinus intact after placing the zygomatic implant also. So these are extramaxillary techniques, minimally invasive, preservation of tissues, less traumatic, and what more do you want? So we come to the last case. So I'll just rush you through the pictures. This case we did recently. Okay, so we have prepared the guides. This is all on 10. So we have all on 4 on the lower. We have a pterygoid, a zygomatic, and nasal implant for each side for the upper. These are the guides we have. Okay, the maxilla, the mandible. Mandible we did entirely flapless. Okay, and these guides we run only these two drills, the lancet drill and these are pterygoid drills. So we place the guides onto the ridge. I didn't have to do bone pins on the lower because I just need to orient them so that I'm away from the metal foramen and the right angulation, that so the entire implant is within the bony housing. So these are all the flap that we did. You see, not much of bleeding, patient comfortable. So implants of 3.75 in the distal and 3.3 in the anteriors. Implants placed. These are tough implants, TUFF. And so for placing this is a product 3.2 drilling. Okay. So implants placed with good primary stability. You can see the angulation. You can see that tilt. Okay. So the nerve is somewhere over here. Good. So this is the all-on-4 configuration for the lower. So now we do the angulation correction with multi-units, 30 degrees on the distal, tucked in position. You can see very good parallelism. All the 4. These are the guide pins for checking parallelism because I need a passive fit of my processes later on. I wouldn't want any undercuts over here. So it has a deviation of 10 to 15 degrees is okay, because now we already use a milled processes and can correct those later on. It's a good placement. Okay, so now it's probably somewhere over here, and we have tilted it safe and sound, right? That's all on 4. I do the lower earlier because it's easy, and I already done out of 10. I have done 4. 4 is done, so only 6 left. I don't think of pterygoid zygomatic. But 6 left. 4 is done. 6 left. Okay, that's the all on 4 for you. For the lower, you can see the positioning. Comfortable bits away from the, and the implants slight lingual tilt to engage the lingual cortex. Slight lingual tilt. If you can, you engage, you can tilt to engage the buccal cortex also if you want, not a problem. Okay. So this is the upper, the NPC configuration. We already done the planning, the positioning is all done, and the guides are prepared. So this is my zygomatic implant, and this is the nasal and pterygoid. Okay, we'll go through this. So I think now we are going to see the pterygoid implant placement. We have already seen the surgical protocols. We saw the videos also. So this is for the pterygoid. So you can see here, I think I showed this to you, so we'll not go through this again. So I stabilize the implant with the bone pins. Most of my videos and case photos, so you can relate better. So bone pins in place. And this is the pterygoid drilling. So first my answer drill, then my 2 mm drill. Okay. This we have seen, right, already. I'll get this done. The long drills, the long drill, pterygoid drills of 2 and 2.8 millimeter, and the implant placement. So since you have seen this, I'm just skipping it. Okay. So you can also see, now you can see this drill, you can see how much of blood is there, till where the drill has gone. You can determine the length based on that. Okay. So we are using a 4.2 into 20. Okay, long implant for pterygoids. So a 45 degree over here, a 40 degree over here, and a 30 over here. Little offset is there, which I'll be correcting to at the end. You can see it later on. Okay, so 3 multi-units placed on the right side. So pterygoid again, the implant in position. This slide has changed to come over here. So implant position, then the multi-unit placed. Okay. All right. So this is the zygomatic implant. We'll see in the coming slides. So I showed you nasal, I showed you pterygoid. We'll see zygomatic. Now what we have done here, I'll finish this for you. See, the thing is, this implant hex can be adjusted so that we get good parallelism between the implants, right? All the 6 implants, we have to get good parallelism. Okay. So we have hex is 6. So we have 6 positions in the multi-unit, 6 positions in the implant. So we can have, it's like a key. So you see that you rotate it a little bit here and there so that you get good parallelism between the implants that you can check using the guide pins. I can see over here, there is an offset over here. You can see it's not, there's an undercut over here. All right. So what we do is we remove the multi-unit, we do a little bit of bone adjustment and rotate the implant so that now we can see this and this are parallel, and this may be offset of 5 degrees we can manage. So we can adjust this always. Okay. Now we saw pterygoids, we'll see zygomatic implant placement. So this is the kit. This is a zygomatic kit, my implants. Okay, when you go for zygomatic implants, always have a big array of implants with you. Time is 6. I will finish this in 5 minutes. Okay, this is my anesthesia. Give a dose extra also so that implant placement is comfortable for the patient. Okay, so flap raised, stent in position, and this is my course drill, right? The guide path I told you to guide me from the crest into the zygomatic bone. Okay, we'll see how this is done. So I'm creating a way. I'm just like drilling a hole towards the mountain, into the mountain. Yeah, putting roads, creating a road for entering into the mountain. So that's how we do drilling. So we have 3 levels of drills in this: coarse, medium, and fine. So as you go towards the sinus, we convert it into to fine, so that we don't perfect the sinus. What happens if there's sinus? Nothing happens. But see, we become more and more deft and expert when we try to respect tissues. Especially as a periodontist, I like to, after all my cases, I like to see my sinus intact. Okay, and then the twist drill. Okay, so now we have reached the zygoma. Then from there we keep position, and then we do the twist drill. Keep your hand very stable. Keep the drill very stable, because there are a lot of vibrations. We don't want the drill to move here and there. So follow the exact path along. So I'm keeping my thumb over here to check that I can feel the vibration as I come towards the outer cortex. So, and I reach, I stop and then give a push, so that I have a tricortical contact. You can see over here, maybe you can feel the apical push. As I drill, it is moving in. All right. And then I keep my hand over there and check. Yeah. And finally, it will stop and an apical push. You can see bone in the zygomatic and the drills. Good. So we have drill 1, drill 2, and this is the implant placement. I keep my thumb over here so that my implant doesn't lift, because you're drilling into the dense cortical. Implant placed with surgical screwdriver. Good. So same case, pictures. So the twist drills, then I measure what is the length of implant I need. We have implant length starting at from 35 to 60, 35, 37.5, 40, 42.5, the length we have. Okay. So then we can remove the drill, finish the drilling part, place the implant. This is the zygomatic implant. You can see all the nice vessels over here, all intact. The multi-unit of 45 degrees is what we usually use for the zygomatic implant. Good. This is the right side. You can see the guide path created using the test drill. Good. Same thing. Same. It's picture. It's like clockwork. Guide path, test drill, measurement, implant placement. This implant measured, placed with very good stability. So whatever was there. So this is my NPZ. So the NZP actually. Nasal implant, zygomatic implant, and pterygoid implant. Good. Now you can see this offset was there. Now I removed the multi-unit and placed it again. I corrected over here. See again, I'm just rotating the pterygoid a little bit, and I have corrected it. So you can see good parallelism between all the six implants. So this is the all-on 10 protocol. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 10 out of 10. Okay, this is all-on 10 protocol, and the post-op CBCT configuration. So I hope I have. When I was preparing for the presentation, I saw this 10-10. Suppose if you're seeing a lot of this time in your watch, 10-10 always. It's something. It seems a very good omen. It seems like the entire universe is working towards making you a better person, and it giving you a spiritual awakening. This word 10 seems to be such a good luck charm. Okay, 4 reasons. You can see over here. Maybe you can take a picture of it. It's working for your higher, everything is working for your highest good, and you're awakening to your spiritual self. You're ready to take action, and you're fully supported. This is from your side, but these two, I'm sure they can help you with your cases, with your case planning, with your armamentarium, and I'll share you my. I'm sure all of you are getting back to work after the corona part, and this is my practice in Chennai. Whenever now, of course, Chennai is in lockdown, but you're all welcome to visit my place, and we can discuss a lot of things, cases. This is my something I created in my practice. It's exclusive stainless steel operatory. I use only for implants, and we have live relay systems for our training programs. So I have doctors coming in to see how this is done. And this is me. That's my phone number, my mail ID, and my Insta page. You can always message me or call me. As I told you, that the rule of 10, you're getting good support, and the world is working towards making you better. I hope this presentation can help you into looking at newer options for your cases. your segmental rehab, your full mouth rehab, and also giving you confidence that it's not very difficult, or pterygoid zygomatic is not something that you can't do, and very soon a light amount of training and mental preparation will also be getting to do those cases. So thank you to this wonderful team from Dentist Channel Online. I've been watching them for a very long time, and I'm glad I got to get an opportunity to work with them. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Dr. Johnson. It was an absolute pleasure to have you as an esteemed speaker for this very webinar. I'm sure all our participants loved the session. Dear participants, if you've loved the session, we always do this small drill wherein you would put your comments and post what you felt about the session. If you felt it was a wonderful session, you can write that the session was really wonderful. If you really found it an interesting session, you learned something nice, you would want to learn something more, whatever you feel, please do put your comments in the chat box. Thank you, Dr. Ranjana. We would love to hear read your comments. That gives us the motivation to keep going, and I'm sure with your comments we would love to have Dr. Johnson once again, rather for 10 more times, for many such presentations, and I'm sure Dr. Johnson would also love to be a part of many more webinars like these. Dr. Johnson, I request you to kindly stop your screen share for a moment. Friends, in the meanwhile, I would like to tell you that you can post your questions in the question and answer box that's there to the footer of the page. You can post whatever questions you have with regards to the session that we had today. Dr. Johnson would love to answer them all. Before we move to the question and answer session, friends, today is a special day for DentistChannel.Online. I would be telling you quickly why I say that, but before that, friends, each and every one of you by now knows that DentistChannel.Online is an exclusive dental media company. We're catering only to the dental fraternity around the globe. We would love to stay in touch with you always and forever. And for that, the only request that I have is if you can subscribe to our channels, to our YouTube page, to our social media pages, so that you stay in touch with you, so that we'd be able to give you information from the world of dentistry right under one platform, that is DentistChannel.Online. And DentistChannel.Online's main motto is to digitally unite the various umbrellas that come under dentistry in one single roof, that is DentistChannel.Online. And that's a sole aim, and hence I request you to only subscribe to DentistChannel.Online. That's all you have to do, so that you can stay in touch with us, so that we would be able to help you, to give you information from the latest, the coolest technological advancements that's happening around the world when it comes to dentistry. Sincere request that you follow, subscribe, like, share, and tell people that who we are DentistChannel.Online. Well, ladies and gentlemen, we've come up with a new segment which we call as DCO Prime Membership, that is the DentistChannel.Online Prime Membership, wherein if you're a Prime member, you can avail special discounts on online courses, workshops, certification programs, and a lot more. You can become a Prime member at a very minimal cost. If you want to become a Prime member, you can find the link to becoming a Prime member in the chat box right under the footer. Become a Prime member, and it's a year-long program. You can avail exclusive benefits all throughout the year. Friends, a very special day today, like I've already mentioned. Team DentistChannel.Online has been thinking how we can get everyone from the world of implantology in one single roof. Amidst the gloom and doom in these unprecedented times, things have been very difficult for each and every one of you and for us as well. And we understand the plight of dentists, and hence we are launching the first world's virtual implant expo to take place from the 17th to the 22nd of August 2020. Like I mentioned, this was a very well thought virtual expo, which is only for you, dear friends, who are interested in the overwhelming field of implant dentistry. You know, we know, and everyone knows there's so much to learn in implant dentistry. And looking at the current scenario of dental exhibitions, of implant exhibitions in India and all across the globe, we thought, why not come up with a virtual expo wherein you get to learn from stalwarts, pioneers, and experts like Dr. Johnson himself, who would love to come on this platform and share knowledge so that you widen your knowledge from the overwhelming field of implant dentistry. Ladies and gentlemen, world's first virtual implant expo is free of cost for you to register. There will be an array of scientific sessions, masterclass sessions, a lot of sessions that we are going to have, some certification programs to the 6 days of the Power Pack Knowledge Sharing Conference that we've specially thought and designed for you. Two main reasons why we've worked on this very special expo. One is looking at the current situation of dental implant exhibitions in India and all across the globe. And secondly, looking at the plight of a few dentists. We've understood that a few dentists have not been really doing financially well due to the lockdown and due to the various financial burdens that they have. And hence, we, the organizers, have decided, rather we've pledged that 100% of the profit generated from the expo would be given to a needy dentist. So I request you to kindly register for the expo. It's a free of cost expo. You can join in any of the sessions that you like. You can learn from masters, world-renowned implantologists on various topics, on various aspects of implant dentistry. Also, on the last day, that is the 22nd of August, we have held a special session all throughout the day. And the name of the special session is Complications, Solutions, and its Management Implantology. Ladies and gentlemen, we all know everybody likes to talk about the success in their implant cases, but no one wants to talk about the failures associated with implantology. And hence, we've kept this special masterclass session on the last day of the expo, that is the 22nd of August 2020, wherein you can come listen to masters on how they found a solution to complicated cases. So it's a 6-day expo. It's a 6-day Power Pack expo. It's a free of cost expo. You can register for any of the sessions that you like of your choice. You can join in whenever you want. You can leave whenever you want. It's a virtual expo. And I'm sure there will be a lot of learning that's going to happen during the 6 days of the expo. And here's a small, gentle, humble request that if you can share this word with all fellow implantologists, I'm sure everyone would like to benefit from this expo by participating, simply by participating in this expo. So please share the word about the virtual implant expo to all your colleagues who wish to practice implantology or the ones who've already been practicing implantology. This expo is for everyone, the young as well as the experienced in the overwhelming field of implant dentistry. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. And this is about the e-certification. The e-certificate for today's webinar would be given to our esteemed Prime members. For that, I request you to kindly mention your name and the name of this webinar on the below mentioned WhatsApp number. And this is about the next webinar. The next webinar is on a very important topic, that is management of medical emergencies in dentistry. We've chosen this topic considering the scenario today, and for most of us practitioners who've started practicing, who've started going back, it's a very important topic. I'm sure you would want to be a part of this. You can register for this free webinar through the registration link, which you can find in the chat box. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for your time. And now it's time for us to start with a very important session, that is the live question and answer session. Thank you, Dr. Johnson.
Yeah, Ruben, wonderful work you're doing. Amazing.
Thank you very much, sir. We start with the first question from Dr. Kumari Kalpana. Indication for all on 6. How do we decide whether to go for all on 6 or all on 4?
See, as I told you in the pictures, remember, see, if your distal implant in all on 4 is going to emerge at 4 or 5, okay, then you would need a pterygoid. Pterygoid implants are predominantly used to prevent your cantilevers. We don't want cantilevers. Cantilevers at any point of time, even a single tooth cantilever, though we have science backing it, even a single piece cantilever, a single tooth cantilever can lead to failures maybe 3 or 4 years down the line. So when if you're going to restore 6 to 6, and if you feel your implant is coming at the 4 region, of course you need a pterygoid. If you're going to restore 6 to 6 and the implant is emerging at 6, a distal implant is emerging at 6, you wouldn't need a pterygoid. You can very well finish with an all on 4.
Thank you very much. So,
yeah, go on, Ruben.
Thank you very much, sir. Sorry to interrupt. I hope the question was answered. We move on to the next question. Question from Dr. Rupanjan Roy. So can you please describe in brief the 55 rule?
The 5.5 rule, it's not a 55 rule, it's called a 5.5 rule.
All right.
Suppose this is a zygoma. Yeah, this is a zygoma, right? Okay. So we start point A at the premolar region, and this is the entire zygoma divided by half. 0.5 is half, and that is where you enter into the zygoma, just to determine what level you want to enter into the zygomatic bone. The idea is you stay considerably away from the eye and considerably away from the infratemporal fossa. So if you take half of your zygoma, you're safely entering into the part where you're going to get maximum BAC, or the bone implant contact. So length of 20 millimeters, mark 10 millimeters, and start drilling into zygomatic bone. 5.5.
Thank you, sir. We move to the next question. Question from Dr. Shahzada. If sinus gets perforated, how to manage it? Is there any serious problem due to sinus perforations?
Patient is healthy enough and you're not putting any graft or anything into the sinus membrane will heal within 7 days. So you don't have to worry about sinus perforations. I plan all my surgery so that my sinus is intact. It's patent. If it perforates anyway, implant after you place zygomatic bone, it is going to seal the area of perforation and it's going to reform. So don't bother about suturing it and putting membrane and covering it. Don't bother about all that. It'll heal.
Thank you very much, sir. Next question from Dr. Gaurav. In all on 10 case, if upper prosthesis is from 17 to 27, then for lower you have to give cantilever. Then what about the prognosis of implant with respect to cantilever or more distal forces?
The lower mandible. So mandible is more forgiving. As very nice question. As far as maybe he's a prosthodontist. Okay, the cantilever is more forgiving in the mandible and in the maxilla. That is why we always talk about pterygoids in the maxilla. In a mandible, even a two-tooth cantilever has good success rates compared to the maxilla. Maxilla, even a single-tooth cantilever can lead to a lot of torsional forces on the distal implant. So as far as the mandible is concerned, do not worry about cantilevers much, because the bone is dense, you have got good basal bone, and you have multiple areas of cortical contact. It's much for forgiving in the mandible. So your cantilever doesn't matter in the mandible.
Thank you, sir. Before we move to the next question, here's a sweet message that we've got from Dr. Sabiha. She says, thank you, sir. Dr. Johnson, it was really an awesome session. As I am a postgraduate student, I used to have a fear in NZP implants, but now I'm a bit confident after watching your webinar. Well, thank you for attending this webinar, ma'am. It was a pleasure to have you. We move to the next question. Advantage of implants: polished surface at crestal end and 5 to 7 millimeter of threads at apical end versus threads all over from crest to apical region of implant.
There is something now coming up. It's called the one-time one abutment concept. All companies coming up with that. When you place pterygoid implants, see, you have very dense tissue over there. It's length of 7 to 8 millimeters sometimes. And as you place your implant, sometimes the implant gets, because of one step down osteotomy and cortical bone engagement over there, your entire implant may not go subcrestal. You might have to leave 2 or 3 threads over the crest. All right. So in those kind of cases, a 5mm polish collar helps a lot. 1, 2. Even when your implant is completely subcrestal and you have some kind of bone resorption happening over there, an exposed polished surface is much more easier to maintain and clean than an exposed rough surface. That is why specifically in pterygoid implants, we use implants with a polished collar. Again, you also use these implants in extraction sockets where you're going to anticipate some kind of bone resorption. An exposed polished surface of 2 millimeters is more safer to clean and maintain than a rough surface. That's why I love this implant so much, the TerryFit implant. And the Tough Pro also. It also has a 2mm polish collar.
Thank you, sir. We move to the next question. Excellent presentation, sir. Totally loved it. My question to you is, if one implant fails when I'm doing all on 6, do I need to remove all the other implants?
No, of course not. Why would you want to do that? If one implant fails, depending on which implant it is, you can remove that implant. If you have an adequate site to place the implant near about it, place the implant and redo the processes. Or you can wait, just screw back the processes back, wait for 2 or 3 months, let bone to form and do the implant and immediately lower it again. Once you have a screw-in process in your hand, it's very easy to work in these things.
Thank you very much, sir. Next question from Dr. Mehta Payal. How to know while drilling that we have reached the palatine bone or tuberopalatine cases?
That will be difficult by just taking IOPS, because IOPS are two-dimensional. So basically your angulation will determine, once you do multi, you'll see If it's more vertical, it's more towards pterygoid plate. If it's going more tilted, maybe 45 degrees, you're probably going through the palatine bone only. And when you feel the drop, you have reached the outer part of pterygoid plate. That is how you determine. And only a CBCT will tell you what all cortices is engaged. You cannot know. You cannot know by your IOPA or your OPG. You cannot.
Thank you, sir. Next question. How to reduce cantilever while placing all on four implants?
The distal wall of sinus is a limiting factor. So you cannot reduce cantilever. You can place an implant with the maximum AP spread. That's what the AP spread is the word. So you can extend your distal implant up to your sinus only. You cannot go beyond that. The trans sinus, I wouldn't advise. Though it works, there are no issues with that. Okay. So once that is the maximum spread you will get. Now you feel it is not going to that much. You're going only four. Go for your pterygoids.
Thank you, sir. Sir, as you said, that distal cantilever is a problematic in maxilla. So can we manage it via pterygoid implants?
Yes, that is why you need all on six. The precise point of my lecture.
Thank you, sir. Next question. If zygomatic implant fails, how can we manage it?
Failure in zygomatic implants is something touch wood I have not faced yet. No, there's no wood around here. Okay, I have not faced till now because zygomatic implant is the rescue implant. Is the last resort, highly resolved maxilla, nothing else to do, and the patient has a lot of hope in you, and you place a zygomatic implant. If it fails, you can't do anything either. You remove it, retrieve it, and wait for it to heal. Because again, that its healing is going to be very poor because it's fully cortical. It's not going to regenerate over there. So you just have to wait for it to close and then do it at later period of time.
Thank you, sir. Next question. The whole world talks about the implant abutment connection. Can you give me an insight on the implant abutment connection which we receive in zygomatic implants?
And that's again why I love the Neuro system, because it's the same for Zygoma or the TUF or the conventional implant. All my hexes are the same. It's all platform switched and the hexagonal concept. So it's not complicated, very simple, straightforward. All the components fit everywhere. The multi-units fit in the TUF, the Zygomatic. There is no preformed angulations and no specific equipments or prosthetic drives you need for the Zygomatic connection also. The same, simple and straightforward.
Thank you, sir. Next question. How can we, the newcomers, start with this technique?
Learn it. A lot of training programs. Happy to host you people to come to Chennai to learn from me or whichever place you are. They have live surgery programs. See, it's three stages. First, you get the theory in, like he sees lecture, see it again. So there on FB Live, get the theory inside. Then you go for watching live surgery programs. Then we have cadaver workshops for zygomatic implants. You can attend the zygomatic workshop, cadaver workshops where you actually do on cadavers. Then you can have shadow programs. If you're very interested, you can come, you can operate with us. We can guide you into surgeries, or you have a case in your clinic, I would come over and just help you do it. So that's how it works. That's how the sequence of learning. And then you would do cases by yourself. And you learn by errors. When we started doing that 6 years back, zygomatic was something we no one should tread into it. Now we are taught more than 300 doctors are doing it. So we learn by errors and get a good confidence first.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, friends. Like Dr. Johnson's already mentioned, he would love to host you in his institution in Chennai. He's having a couple of courses, and I'm sure you would also want to take the advantage from learning from a person who's well versed, who's well experienced in his topic and this domain. So if you're interested to take up a course, you can always get in touch with Dr. Johnson on his social media profiles or directly contacting him. We move to the next question. Question from Dr. Kiran DeCosta. Sir, in which all patients zygomatic implants are contraindicated?
Contraindication of zygomatic implant is any surgical contraindication. There are no contraindication as such, especially if you have a highly infected sinus or too little bone. Because the volume of zygoma sometimes is not enough to house your zygomatic. So you at least need a width of 5 millimeters. There are some zygomatic bones width of only 3 millimeters. So implant won't engage. So if you have good volume of bone, sufficient volume of bone, the zygomatic bone, there are no contraindications for zygomatic implants.
Thank you, sir. I think this should be the last question from the live question and answer session. Question from Dr. Payal. Can you please go through the Bretsonian classification?
The Bedrosian classification is 3 zones. You can see me over here. This is zone 1, the anteriors. Zone 2, the premolars. Zone 3, the molars. Now, depending on the presence of adequate bone, either the both height and width, is how we determine the configuration of implant placement. Now, if we have bone in zone 1, 2, and 3, it will be conventional 6 implants you can place, no issues. You don't have bone in zone 3, you have bone only in zone 1 and 2, you go for a all on 4 or all on 6. If you have no bone in zone 1, 2, and 3, you go for a zygomatic implants. That's how your bed dressing classification works.
Thank you, sir. Well, with that, we come to the end of the live question and answer session. Once again, on behalf of Team DentistChannel.Online.
I'll interrupt Ruben. See, I have been doing so many webinars this lockdown period. This is my 738. And this is probably the first webinar where I have a host doing such a beautiful job, jotting down questions and answering doctors individually. I think, Ruben, you're amazing. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you very much. That's so sweet of you for the lovely message. With that, we come to the end of the live question and answer session. As I was saying, on behalf of the entire team from DentistChannel.Online, it's not just me and the others. There's a huge team which is working day in and day out for the dental fraternity. Would like to thank you for your valuable time and for the excellent webinar that you gave our dear participants today. I'm sure each and every one has learned something, a lot or a lot of. If they've learned a lot, I'm sure they would like to get in touch with you. Friends, if you're interested to learn more about this beautiful concept, you can get in touch with Dr. Johnson. I'm sure he's already mentioned his contact details and his social media profiles. With that, we come to an end of the lovely presentation. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. May you all have a good evening.
Thank you. Bye-bye.